There was a vast expanse of forest, thick trees blocked the sky, and layers of branches and leaves intertwined to form a huge green dome. The sun shines through the cracks in the branches and leaves, sprinkling mottled lights and shadows, like a dreamy wonderland. In the deepest part of this forest, there is a small village like a paradise hidden, which has a picturesque name, Tina Village. Walking into Tina Village is like stepping into a wonderful world surrounded by singing. The houses in the village are scattered in an orderly manner, and the smoke from the rooftops rises, blending with the fog that permeates the forest. Every time night fell, the afterglow of the setting sun dyed the sky a brilliant orange-red, and the whole village seemed to be shrouded in a layer of golden tules. At this moment, the melodious and beautiful singing will be like a babbling stream, floating out of the windows of every house in the quiet night sky. The singing may be passionate and high-pitched, like a galloping horse, or tactfully low, like a babbling stream. In this small village full of songs, there lived two talented teenagers, one named Matthew and the other named Leo. Matthew was born into the most famous singing family in the village, which was like a shining musical temple. Their singing has touched the hearts of countless people and enjoyed a high reputation throughout the region. Matthew has been immersed in such an environment since he was a child, as if he was born with an inseparable bond with music. His voice was clear and pure, like a spring in the mountains, flowing without a trace of impurities. The range was astonishingly wide, like a vast sky. Whether it was the excitement of the treble or the depth of the bass, he could easily control it. Moreover, his understanding and expressiveness of songs far exceed that of his peers, and each song can radiate its unique charm under his interpretation, as if he is the sole messenger of the song. As the praise grew, Matthew's mindset began to change. He gradually became complacent, like a flower overlooked in a greenhouse, and began to lose himself. He felt that he had mastered all the singing skills, and the vocal methods and emotional expressions that had made him study hard were already a piece of cake in his opinion. He no longer values every singing practice as much as he used to, considering it a waste of time. He began to participate in various social activities frequently, eating, drinking, and having fun with his friends. They were in the lively tavern, making loud noises and toasting. In the bustling market, they were lounging and playing, chasing short-lived pleasures. Matthew spends a lot of time on these meaningless things, and his life becomes more and more impatient. He was becoming more and more perfunctory in learning new songs. Just listening to them casually, he felt that he had learned it. When he was practicing, he was always absent-minded, looking at the sheet music while thinking of other things. His singing gradually lost its former agility and emotion, like a flower that had lost its moisture, becoming withered, empty, and dull. The voice that used to sound like a clear spring has now become dry and hoarse, losing its former luster. Leo, on the other hand, was born ordinary, and his parents were just ordinary villagers. They worked hard in the fields every day at sunrise and sunset. Although they do not have particularly outstanding singing talents, they are kind and simple, and they nurture Leo with their hard work and sweat. Leo has been full of love for singing since he was a child, and his melodious singing is like a magical key that unlocks the door to his dreams. He aspires to one day become an excellent singer like Matthew, touching everyone's heart with his singing. Although not as talented as Matthew, Leo has an unwavering heart. With his unremitting efforts and persistent pursuit of singing, he comes to the forest early every day. In the early morning forest, the air is fresh and moist, filled with the fragrance of soil and flowers. Birds are singing happily in the branches. Their singing is crisp and melodious, as if it were the most beautiful music of nature. Leo found a quiet corner and practiced singing in front of the birds and trees. He listened carefully to the birds' songs and tried to understand their emotions. One year, the kingdom held a grand singing competition. The streets were talking about the competition, and people's faces were full of anticipation and excitement. Though Matthew and Leo have both signed up for the competition, and they both hope to prove their worth in the competition. Matthew felt that he didn't need to do much preparation at all. He was lost in the glory of the past, like a butterfly trapped in the old days, unable to see that the outside world had changed. He just randomly picked a few songs he had sung before, and after a few simple exercises, he felt that he had a plan. He was wearing a sumptuous dress, which was inlaid with brilliant gems and shone brightly in the sun. He took confident steps, as if he had seen himself standing on the podium of the championship, receiving the cheers and applause of the crowd. Leo, on the other hand, threw himself into the preparations for the competition. He searched everywhere for new songs that suited him, like a persistent treasure hunter, constantly exploring in the ocean of music. He consulted the old singers in the village, who had rich singing experience. They patiently taught Leo how to use his breath and how to express his emotions. Leo was like a dry sponge, eagerly absorbing these precious experiences. He also practices expressions and movements in front of the mirror every day, knowing that a perfect performance requires not only beautiful singing, but also vivid expressions and beautiful movements. He practiced again and again until he was satisfied. He shut himself in his room and practiced every music note and beat over and over again, and every practice felt like an uphill battle, but he never gave up. On the day of the competition, Matthew dressed in gorgeous clothes and took a confident step onto the stage. The dazzling lights on the stage shone on him, making him look even more radiant. However, when he sang, the audience couldn't help but look disappointed. His singing is no longer as crisp and melodious as it used to be, lacking emotional investment and the use of skills. His voice sounded dry and stiff, like a soulless machine uttering mechanically. Compared to the songs of the other contestants, his singing seemed a little bland, as if he had been submerged in the ocean of music. The audience below the stage began to whisper, with puzzled and disappointed expressions on their faces. It was Leo's turn to go on stage. He wore simple clothes and walked on stage nervously but firmly. But there was a firm belief in his eyes. When he began to sing, the audience was shocked by his singing. His singing was like the singing of a nightingale, melodious and full of emotion and power. Every music note is like a bright star, illuminating the whole stage. He integrated his love of singing and his understanding of life into his singing, as if telling a touching story. The audience was deeply moved by his singing, and their eyes flickered with moved hairs as they applauded and cheered for him. The applause was as loud as thunder and echoed at the competition scene for a long time. In the end, Leo won the championship. He was so excited that tears welled up in his eyes and ran down his cheeks. He knew that this was the result of his years of hard work, which he had earned through sweat and perseverance. He stood on the podium, holding the trophy in his hands, filled with joy and pride. Matthew stood by, stunned, his face filled with shock and regret. He looked at Leo and realized that he had lost too much valuable because of his momentary pride and slack. After the game, Matthew found Leo with his head bowed low and his face full of guilt. With a red face and a trembling voice, he apologized to Leo and asked for the secret of success. Leo smiled, his smile warm and sincere, like the sunshine in spring. He patted Matthew on the shoulder and said earnestly, "Matthew, I don't actually have any secrets. I just know that a little achievement is just a small marker on the way forward, not the end. Only by constantly working hard and learning can we continuously improve our singing skills." Matthew was deeply touched by Leo's words. His eyes shone with determination, and he decided to rediscover his love and original intention for singing. He started to work hard like Leo, with his feet on the ground. He gets up early every day and goes into the forest to practice singing. In the early morning forest, the birds sang happily, and the breeze blew gently, as if they were all cheering him on. He took every singing practice seriously, constantly learning new songs and techniques. He accompanied Leo to various charity performances. In those remote mountainous areas, they sing for the poor children, using their songs to convey warmth and hope. In those places that have been devastated, they sing for the affected people and use their songs to boost their morale. Their stories are widely shared in Tianlai village. Every time someone in the village wants to give up their efforts or becomes complacent, people think of the story of Matthew and Leo.